is Kimmy the Gadget Goddess, and I am back finally giving you my full review of the Oppo Find N. I wanted to carry it for a while, not give you a week review, not give you a month review, but give you a review of true usage of this phone. I have carried two phones for the past decade plus, even before I started doing YouTube. Since I started YouTube, I do have one that is my business line. The Oppo Find N took place of my business line, which means it was still being used. It just was not my phone that my friends and my family contacted me. It was mostly business connections. I'm going to cover the cons of this phone first. Don't think just because I have cons that, oh, it's a problem, because no phone is perfect, regardless of what somebody might tell you. Every phone has issues, bugs, lacks of updates, lacks of cases, all kinds of craziness that come with the device. Most people who have not used imports don't know that Chinese variant imports usually do not allow you to change the launchers. I don't have a problem with not being able to use a different launcher, but a lot of people do. I can use the launcher that came on the phone by default because it's usually fluid and usually runs fast, as this one does. Some other things that I was excited about when I first got the device, but as I used it, I saw I wouldn't be excited about, was the Magic Ball was limited. I thought it would be more like Xiaomi's Magic Ball, where it was customizable. I could put whatever I wanted in the Magic Ball. That's not the case. It's very limited into what you can put into it. Split screen does not work on all apps. I find that to be kind of universal with a lot of these phones, that they don't work on all the apps. They'll work on some, and that's usually the apps you really want to use, right? The constant annoyance of getting an alert that I have an app that's draining the battery is just that. It's annoying. The battery life is exceptional on this phone, but I don't need you constantly telling me, hey, this app is draining your battery in the background. I get it. It's really not, but thanks for letting me know. I am an avid Final Fantasy fan, so one game I always test out on these devices is the Final Fantasy Pocket Edition. It's Final Fantasy 15, but it's the Pocket Edition that's made for mobile devices. As I get logged in here, you will see I have a game that's already saved in this device. See, I can load a game. The problem with this is I got to a certain point in this game and the game completely just froze up. I took a screenshot and I will stick that in here of where this game froze up, but I wasn't a happy camper because I had fought a monster in the whole 9, but then it brings me right back to where I was before I fought the monster. The game froze up and did not allow me to save at that point. If you're doing high-powered gaming, I would not recommend that you game on the Oppo Find N. That is a huge disappointment. Most other things run fantastic on this phone. Some important things. If this was not my side piece, as I call it, my side phone, my business phone, I don't think I could use it for my primary, and here's why. Group text messaging and making it so all of your apps stay open and running like they're supposed to, and you don't receive notifications slowly. You have to go into ADB to fix those things. Now, if you like to tinker with phones, knock yourself out. If you don't mind having lack of 5G, knock yourself out. 5G is kind of picking up in Charlotte, so as a side piece, it's fine. When I want to really hit it hard and have higher speeds on my phone, even though it's very slow 5G, I break out the Huawei. It's not getting the 5G that you would get on a phone that's domestic, but none whatsoever on this phone. I wish I could remember the guy who commented in one of my earlier videos. If you use AT&T, this might be a no-go for you. For him, he could not even connect calls. As soon as I go to make a phone call on this, my data switches to H+. I have this phone on T-Mobile, so if you want to use data and make phone calls at the same time, you're going to be stuck on H+. Whereas if you're on AT&T, you're just done. He couldn't get his calls. They would ring for a second and they were just gone. You might experience different in your area. I'm sure that's a location thing, but I cannot test it because I don't have AT&T. I have T-Mobile. But again, with this ADB thing, if you're a person that tinkers with phones and you don't mind going in and removing the default text messaging app, make sure you have Google Messages on your phone before you do that, so you do have some kind of backup text app when you do remove it. I will leave links in the description for you to go over to XDA and achieve all of that. They have a process on how to remove a lot of the bloatware to make it so your apps are not delayed in getting notification, and they just let you know everything that's removable. There is a thread that is dedicated to Oppo and Chinese variants and getting everything the way you need to have it done. Forbes Tech Review, he removed the default text messaging app off of this phone. He also went out and downloaded Google Play services just fine because he did a wipe of the phone, and when you wipe the phone, it goes away. It's as easy as a search, getting the app for Google Play and putting it on your phone. It's a Google away, literally. I'm really indifferent about the high refresh rate only being on one screen. I don't use high refresh rates. Gaming is fine, crank it up for that. But when people go, let me show you how fast my... Ooh, I don't get in all that. With my naked eye, I cannot see it, but with gaming, you can notice the difference. Any widget I put here is also going to put here. If I do a floating app on the inside, it will carry over to the outside. I was watching a live stream earlier, and I was able to have the live stream on one side and my Twitter DMs on the other. Now, when I went to type a message, and this is just my keyboard, I'm sure, because I use Gboard, it popped up in the middle, like right in here. You know, I hit on the box that I wanted to send the message in and start typing, and it would send there. I could get rid of the keyboard when I didn't need it. So it wasn't taking up too much space. Lots of good real estate here. Speaking of real estate here, I got a question on one of my videos about how to get YouTube full screen. Now, you can look at this and say, hey, your YouTube is full screen. How do I get mine full screen? And it's full screen now. But if I go through and play one of my videos, see, it's here. If I make it full screen here, see, you're gonna have bars regardless, right? Either you're gonna have bars this way or you're gonna have bars that way. But true full screens on any foldable, mine is probably the flips, you're gonna have black bars regardless. This is my Mate X2. It does the same thing. Everything looks full screen. When I come here, once I make it full screen, it'll tell me to rotate it. So if I rotate it, it doesn't stop me from having bars, right? Bars here, bars here. I think a little bit of that'll get cleared up with Android L, but for now, this is what we have, people, bars. I'm gonna give you some of my pluses, move my little phones out the way. I brought out my little devices because I have my Oppo Find N, which I find to be a little foldable, kind of like the flip. Some of my bonuses to this phone are similar to bonuses I have on the flip. This phone can stand up by itself in multiple ways. I can flip it upside down. Any angle I set this phone at is standing up. Case or no case, right? Which is a bonus, but I can prop it at different angles. Right? The camera wobble back there. This can happen with this and the Z Fold. My Mate, not so much. Mate is an all or nothing kind of deal. I think you might be able to get the 90 degree, but when it comes to back here and stuff like that, it's gonna either somewhat work for you or just open all the way up or just go back to 90 degrees. There's no in between, and yes, I'm rocking two different cases at the same time. It's not like the Z Fold 2 and 3 to where you can prop them at a certain stance and it's gonna work. So that's a bonus here. As discussed earlier, battery life, I'm getting 2 days, sometimes 3. But again, it's running 4G and H+, because it doesn't get 5G. I am a 2 phone carrying person. Carrying 2 phones, I expect 2 days of battery life. At least a day and a half. That's not something I was getting from my Z Fold 3. Z Fold 2, yes. Bonus, battery life. Bonus is this phone is not as expensive as a Z Fold 3. It's not as expensive as a Huawei Mate X2. It's just not as expensive as a lot of phones that are out there. What a lot of people are paying for Z Folds. And I'm not talking about the discount, I'm talking about MSRP. The bonuses to that is that it's an import, it's gonna hold its value. I'll be able to resell it and basically get my money back out of it. Sometimes I can get more than my money back out of it. Wireless charging is super efficient on this phone. I fired up this Pixel stand. I got this phone charged in 1 hour and 35 minutes from empty during a live stream. For some reason, it's a monster when it comes to the Oppo and getting it charged fast. Prior to my case videos going out, I couldn't even find cases for this phone. I am keeping the phone until the Pixel Fold or some other foldable comes along that tickles my fancy. This phone is not going anywhere. I am about that foldable lifestyle. I have embraced the nickname of Folderella, and I'm gonna keep rolling with that until another phone comes out this year that's folding that I want. Oppo it is. Speaking of my folding lifestyle, this has been the best form factor to date on a folding device. Period, point blank. You can say, hey, it's the same as that phone. It is, but this phone is a lot bigger. This is such a more compact form factor. And a lot of people say, oh, it's too short. But that thin, skinny thing that Samsung keeps putting out, and yes, I own them both. Don't give me flack for calling them skinny things, because they are. They are very slim phones. It's a jarring effect every time I would pick the phone up to do something with it. I thought the battery life would get better with the Z Fold 3, but it just didn't. Let's address these cameras. Now, I'm gonna insert some photos and you kind of judge for yourself. I like these cameras. I like Huawei cameras. I like Pixel cameras. I'm not opposed to Samsung cameras. They're just not my favorite. Now, right now, I don't carry an iPhone. I have an iPad mini and the pictures on it are fairly decent as well.
Gadget Goddess.
I will stick some video from this camera up in this review. I do not take a lot of video with cell phones.
Gadget Goddess.
Are you posing for me, Mr. Goose? I think you are. I think they think I have food. I don't have food, buddy. You hear me? I think they think I have food.
Yes, that's what he was saying. You want to get some good pictures? I come out here with some bird seed.
Now, I remember somebody asking, hey, which is the better phone? And they're like in two different ballparks for me. I would be more apt to compare this to a Flip than a Z Fold or a Mate X2 or a Mate XS. It's just a smaller form factor, even though it's bigger on the inside. I just don't see where these two would compare. And even price wise, especially with this one, like the retail for it was like $3,000. With this being half the price of that, I don't see it in the same ballpark. But I do know people do compare cheaper phones with more expensive phones. I just don't feel they're in the same market, but my Huawei is also a Chinese variant. I cannot change the launcher for it, and you have to do a lot of tweaking to get this phone to work. So as far as getting things to work how they should, it's two monsters here. I've put far more work into the Huawei than I put into the Oppo, but the Huawei is better with bands and being able to get 4G and 5G here than the Oppo. That's a quick little summary of like extra stuff. I am hoping that this clears up a lot of things for a lot of people who asked me a lot of questions about this phone. I am not one to jump out and judge or put out a review before I've used the phone for a minimum of at least a month. This phone had so many things that could have changed. When I first got this phone, I was still working remote, barely leaving the house, so I was on Wi-Fi the majority of the time. I was not receiving group text messages on this device, did not know that group messaging was not coming in properly. I was able to find that out. I'm telling you that I'm keeping this phone, but for a lot of people, there are probably a lot of deal breakers in here for you. If you're not one that tinkers with devices, you don't want to work for your phone. True techie, that's what I call people who like to mess around with a phone. Your Cobra Tojas, Barry Johnsons, and your people that will play around with something. If you just want to stick a SIM in a phone, this is not the phone for you, period. If you want to play around with it, you can always try, and if it doesn't work out right, you can erase the phone. You can wipe the phone and start over again. I downloaded Google Play services to this Huawei 6 times before I got it right. I'm sitting here telling you, I did not get it on the first time, but I'm not one who quits when it comes to something I really want and I want to work a certain way, or if somebody's told me I can't make it happen, I will play with it until it happens. That's me. That's not necessarily you or somebody you might want to buy this phone for. So I'm being honest with you and saying, if you're not going to put in the work, don't buy this phone and then tell everybody nothing works on it. Because I told you, day one, I was not getting a single alert to this phone, period. I had to work to get alerts. I have to work to get it to just do basic things. Techies unite. If you want something to play with, this is your phone. If you carry a side piece, if you carry a second line, this is your phone. Would I put all my eggs in one basket and carry this as my only phone and bank on it to get everything that I need without tweaking the phone or not knowing how my area is going to be with 3G or 4G and not having 5G? No. That being said, I'd like to thank you for coming by the channel, checking out my full review of the Oppo Find N. Sorry people have been busy. I still work a full-time job, but I thank you for your time because I know time is money. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you've liked a number of videos and you want to keep up on more stuff with the Oppo Find N, the Huawei Mate X2, or any other import, feel free to subscribe. Memberships cost and memberships have privileges. I hope to see you on my next video. Holla!